is Theo, and I'm a coach and a facilitator here at Empower. And welcome to the Mindfulness broadcast. So, I'm going to continue with our theme of self coaching and ultimately the relationship that we have to ourselves as it relates to mindfulness. And just as a reminder, both to myself and to those of you who are um, helped by reminders, the practice of mindfulness is really about paying attention to present moment experience on purpose without any judgment. So we're really trying to cultivate a sense of curiosity and openness to our present moment experience. And there's only 6 things that we really have to pay attention to, which is kind of good news, right? Because it can feel like life is really complicated. And yet when we boil it down, the things that we need to cultivate awareness around are pretty simple. There are things that we can see. There are things that we can smell. There are things that we can taste. There are things that we can touch or sense. There are things that we can hear. And then there are things that we refer to as mind objects. And that's really the practice of mindfulness. And ultimately, we're just cultivating a power of awareness when we practice mindfulness. So what I'd like to do today is give you some tools that I've found helpful that we can use as a result of this harnessing of the power of awareness. So once we have a practice of mindfulness, and hopefully we can do it on a regular basis so we can strengthen that awareness muscle, we can then harness that muscle to use with some specific tools. And if we're talking about self-coaching, what we're really talking about, to my mind, is what's the relationship that we have to ourselves. So I'm going to introduce some slides. So this is a very helpful reference I've found because it's so embedded in popular culture now. This is Inside Out. So when we think of relating to ourselves, in a lot of ways, what we're doing is we're relating to these characters that live within us. And these are our emotions, obviously, but they periodically show up for whatever reason. And we can really boil that down to they're helping us to understand when our needs are met or unmet. So how we relate to these inner characters is really one of the cornerstones of why we practice mindfulness. We want to have a better relationship to these inner experiences. And I wanted to share with you a way that I try now to relate to my own inner experiences, my own anxiety or anger or fear or joy or hope or embarrassment. And this is kind of what I consider to be my power animal at this point. It used to be, and I don't know if anybody can relate to this, that I took myself extremely seriously. And if you were to ask me what my power animal was, I'd probably say something like a grizzly bear, because I was going to be fierce, dominate. And ultimately, I don't think that served me very well. And one of the benefits of a mindfulness practice is that we get to start to soften the relationship that we have within ourselves with these inner dynamics, whether they be emotions or, sometimes we can think of them as like parts of ourselves. And so I wanted to use this. This is something my 9-year-old made at school, and it just struck me like, this is how I want to relate to myself. I want a sense of playfulness. I want to hold all of these experiences lightly, because ultimately life is short, and why stress out? So I hope that this is inspiring, and maybe if you have some time, you can make one for yourself, or for $29.99 plus shipping, I'll get my daughter to make you one. Okay, so this is just a framework for how is it that we're relating to ourselves? How can we coach ourselves? How can we have a relationship to ourselves that creates more harmony and more contentment, more peace? The other really helpful tool that I have found, and this is proven in all the research, is to create a relationship with the older version of ourselves. So this is me in 20 years. Kind of freaks me out. And I would imagine if you went through the same process, it would freak you out. And it's also extremely useful to have a conception and even a relationship to the older version of ourselves because it can inspire us to move through procrastination and some of the blocks we might experience, and can also cultivate some inherent self compassion, which is also another evidence based practice that can be extremely useful when we're dealing with the challenges that we face in our lives. Begin having a relationship with that older version of yourself. And I found this really useful both with myself and with clients to create a dialogue. To when I'm in a stuck place or when I have clients that are in a stuck place, start to ask myself, what would my older, wiser self have to say about this? You can do this in the form of meditation, but you can also do this in the form of a writing exercise. So another really helpful component of self-coaching is putting pen to paper, the physical act, not the digital act, I find to be much more powerful. It's something that we often refer to as externalization, taking all the crazy in here, getting it out, and then trying to make sense of it in a way that is ultimately going to serve us and those that we care about. So I wanted to take the last 5 minutes or so of our time together to do a little practice. And this is just going to be a simple practice. Um, it's going to be kind of back to basics, just so we can, again, harness this power of awareness that we're all hoping to utilize in our lives. So I would just invite you to find a comfortable position and have your spine straight. You can think of it as a dignified posture, and then just allow the rest of your body to kind of hang from your spine as if it's like a coat rack or something. Just find whatever you can within your posture to get a sense of ease, to settle into your body right now. And then I would just invite you to take a few intentional breaths so we can breathe into our belly, pause, breathe into our chest, and then have a long, slow, complete exhale. And one more time, breathe into the belly, pause, breathe into the chest, pause, and then a long, complete exhale. And then just allowing the breath to return to its natural state. Sensing the pressure underneath us, feeling gravity, feeling the stability of being held on earth. And then I would just invite you to ask the question, how am I relating to myself? What is the tone of the voice that I hear? And How do I want to change that? If it's helpful to imagine an older, wiser version of yourself, what would they have to say about the tone with which that voice relates to you and you relate to it? Is there a way to bring more self compassion into that relationship? And what would that require? Just spend a little time with whatever is arising. And maybe there is something tangible that you can do as a result of whatever has come up. Maybe there's a gesture of kindness that you can offer yourself, or a gesture of playfulness. Is there a commitment that you can make to yourself? Something small and accessible just for today that you're willing to commit to, you can carry forward into your day. So we've hit our 8:30 mark. I'm hopeful that something something useful has come out of this. I would encourage you to spend a minute or two just jotting down anything significant that occurred to you in that short meditation we just did. And I would encourage you um, to try and find a way to incorporate this into your practice. Even if it's just asking yourself the question, how am I relating to myself? How am I relating to these emotions? Is there spaciousness? Is there curiosity? Is there acceptance? And if some of those might be lacking, how is it possible to move the needle just a little bit forward? So I appreciate all of you being here. I know that some of you probably need to get off to work. I'm wishing you a lovely Friday and weekend and holiday season.